Hi, welcome back. In this class, we're going to discuss about what is a modeling and what are the tools are available under modeling. How do we start modeling in SAP BW? First, before starting to do modeling, let's learn what is exactly modeling is called in BW. A modeling is a process of designing the database for your business requirements. The design includes the preparation of database schema. A database schema means a representation of tables and the relationships. ERM modeling is used to create a data dictionaries or data repository in the OLTP system. SAP BW modeling is called as MDM. MDM stands for multi-dimensional modeling, where we use a star schema or extended star schema to design the database into multi-dimensional modeling. So what are the tools is going to help us to do modeling your database? The first tool is very important, is called InfoArea. Under InfoArea, we have InfoObject catalog. Under InfoObject catalog, we have three types of catalogs available. Characteristic InfoObject catalog, key figure InfoObject catalog, time characteristic InfoObject catalog. Apart from this, the next level is called info provider. Basically, we call these are the data targets. Under info providers, we have info queue, data store object, which is called DSO, a multi-provider or info set, a composite provider, a hybrid provider, a virtual provider. So these are all, we can call it as a data targets or info providers. What is the meaning of info providers? It provides the information where I can use all these info providers for creating a reports. Information is nothing but a report. So it will provides the information to create a reports. That's the reason we call it info providers. So if you want to start modeling, first what we need to do, we have to create an info area. So what is an info area? A info area is similar to a class which contains domain specific info objects or info providers. For example, HR info area, which belongs to HR department or domain, a sales info area. So it is nothing but it's a main class which contains a domain specific info objects and info providers. Okay, so if you want to create anything apart from info area, below the info area, all the objects, if you want to create any one of the objects in the list, first we need to create info area. So info area is nothing but it is a main folder where you can organize your objects. So it is a main class where you can organize your objects. So why should I organize my objects under info area? Let me show you an example. If you go back to your BW system, in your BW system, I reached to the data warehousing workbench, a modeling screen. I selected modeling here. Can you observe this? There are so many info areas and every info area contains so many info objects. Can you see here? Everybody started creating their own objects. So if I create my own objects, where I can store them? So it is very difficult for me to find out in the list of the huge list of the objects was created by someone else or other team members. So for that purpose, we are creating our own info area, which is nothing just like a folder where I can organize all my objects, whichever I am going to create from now onwards. Those objects will be stored under one place called info area. It is not only for practicing or doing a modeling. Even for example, you are extracting the data from HR business unit and you at the same time you are extracting another data from the sales and distribution department. So how can I store these two different departments data? So for that, let's create two different info areas, one for HR, one for sales. So I can organize the data into two different info areas. So there won't be any confusion. which data belongs to which department. So where I'm categorizing the objects, categorizing the data by using my folder called InfoArea. Is it clear what is InfoArea? If you want to start anything in a BW as a modeling, if you want to start your modeling in BW, the first object which you have to create is InfoArea. Okay. In other way, what I can do is, let me explain to you what is exactly InfoArea. It is a folder like object. So this is called InfoArea. If you want to start creating anything, the first thing is I need to create, the first step is create InfoArea. Under InfoArea, I can start organize my own objects. For example, I can start creating objects like this. So if I want to look for a certain objects, I can directly come to this InfoArea. Is it clear now what is InfoArea? So InfoArea is nothing but a folder like object where I can organize my all objects whichever I am going to create in my BW system. It is very easy for me to find out my own objects if I have organized in this way. So this is a InfoArea. It's nothing but like a folder in your Windows where you can assign all or add all the files into your folder, which is very easy to go and find out. Similarly, we have a create InfoArea where we create InfoArea, we assign all the objects under this InfoArea. So what is the next object under modeling? The next object is InfoObject catalog. InfoObject catalog. So we have three different types of catalogs are available. Okay. So what is InfoObject catalog? It is similar to a subclass which contains characteristics InfoObject folder, key figure InfoObject folder, time InfoObject folder, which contains respect to the time InfoObjects. So what is a InfoObject catalog? It is a subclass. What does it mean? It is a subfolder which contains characteristics informations, key figure informations, time InfoObject information. So first we need to find out, first of all, what is a characteristics, what is a key figure. Okay, to start that one, then we need to know, first we need to know what are the data types we have. If you are loading the data into BW, okay, the data are divided into different parts. Okay, so what is the two types of data is there? Basically in any kind of business you have two types of data. One is called master data, another one is called transactional data. Okay, so a data is divided into two types, master data and transactional data. Okay, so what is a master data first? A master data is nothing but, for example, customer name, address, phone number, etc, etc. So what is the purpose of, how can you say this customer name belongs to master data? So what is a master data? A master data is nothing but where it provides information about an object. Okay, so for example, take a customer name. It is an entity, so it will provides the name of the customer and address of the customer and phone of the customer. It's providing information about one particular object. And a master data is nothing but which never changes frequently. For example, take a customer name. Do you think that customer is going to change his name frequently? No. Address once in a while, a phone number as well once in a while, but not frequently. So the data which is not going to be changing unfrequently, that is called master data, where we use this master data only for display purpose. Only we display the information. Okay, what is a transaction data? A transaction data is nothing but quantity, price, amount, etc, etc. Can you observe this? A transactional data, we have a quantity, price, amount. which will be keep changing this quantity, price and amount. So these kind of data which will be keep changing on daily basis or regularly, those data is called transactional data. Not only that, where we can do some computation, where we can do some calculations based on this data, which is called transactional data. Coming back to customer data, can you do any calculations with the customer name? No. We can only use customer name to display the information about the customer. This is a customer name. This is the address of the customer. But coming back to transactional data, where you can do some calculation by using this data. So the difference in between master data and transactional data: master data we use only for to display the information, transactional data which will be keep changing and we can use it for calculation purpose. Okay, so if for example, if you are loading a master data to BW, then what I need to create? How can I start modeling? The first thing is, we said whatever the modeling you want to start, we need to create first InfoArea. This is what we explained to you. Okay, then I want to load master data from Oracle to BW. Okay, let's take an example here. Okay, I have a data outside of BW. This is inside of the BW. So this is a BW system and this is OLTP system. It's nothing but data source. Okay, now I want to load this data into a BW. So how can I load this data? For example, I want to load master data. Then how can I load? What I require? First thing, if you want to load the master data, then first you need to find out what are the fields or columns contain this master data. Okay, for example, I have a customer name, address and phone number. I want to load this information into BW. For that, what we need to do, we have again two different types of information available. What is that? Characteristic values, key figure values. What is a characteristic values and key figure values? A characteristics values is nothing but which belongs to a master data. Okay, now I can go back to this master data. You can write it here. Characteristics values. Okay, if you want to load a master data, then I need to load a characteristics values. I need to create, what is a characteristics values? Characteristics values contains a master data. Okay, so if I want to load a key figures, then how can I do that one? It's very simple. If you want to load a transactional data, then you need to create a key figures under transactional data. Okay, so if you want to create if you want to load the master data, I need to create a characteristics. If you want to load a transactional data, I need to create a key figures. Okay, so how do I create? What is the characteristics or options are available? It's very simple, which is called InfoObjects. We have two types of InfoObjects. Characteristics InfoObject, that is nothing but characteristics values. Key figure InfoObjects. Okay, so we have two types of InfoObject. Characteristic InfoObject is nothing but characteristics value which holds master data. Key figure InfoObject is nothing but key figure values. If I want to create an InfoObject first, I need to create InfoObject catalog. What is an InfoObject catalog? So this is an InfoObject catalog which I have created here. So what is the InfoObject catalog I have created here? See, I have all the objects here. For example, this is a characteristics InfoObject catalog and this is key figure InfoObject catalog. You can create like this. You can create one more called sales InfoObject catalog. You can call one more HR InfoObject catalog. Okay, so I can create a first InfoArea, then create a characteristic InfoObject catalog. Under this characteristic InfoObject catalog, then I need to create a characteristic InfoObjects. Okay. So what is basically we're explaining here? If you want to load a master data, first I need to create InfoArea, and this is a main folder. Under that I need to create a subfolder called characteristic info object. This is a subfolder. Under this subfolder I can create a characteristic info objects, so where I can load a master data by using this characteristic info objects. We'll come to the key figures in a later session. Let's work first with the characteristic info object catalogs. So what is a info object? Is it clear what is a info object catalog? What is a info area? Okay, let's create how to create info area and info object catalog. Let's check it out. First you need to go to your BW system. Under BW we have a modeling option. Under modeling, first you need to select info objects. Under info objects you have so many info areas. You can see the technical names here, description here. How do I create my own info area? See, I'll say right click on header of this info objects, say create info area. I'll say that info area for example Udemy. Okay, this is a info, enter the description, info area for Udemy. Okay, or you can give any information. Please remember that if you create any objects under BW, you have to give a technical name and description. Okay, please remember that if you create any object in a SAP BW, you have to enter a technical name and description. This is identification of the objects. Once you enter technical name and description, there is a button called continue. It is nothing but OK. Click on this continue button. Then click on continue for message. You can observe that at the bottom of the screen where it displays your info area. Okay, so if you're not able to find out this info area, then select your info area, click on add objects to favorites. Okay, you can see the message object successfully transferred to the favorites. If you click on the favorites, you can find your info area. Okay, now what I can do, how do I create info object catalog? Very simple. Right click on your info area, select create info object catalog. If you observe this in a dialog box, you have two types of info objects catalogs: characteristic info object catalog, a key figure info object catalog. If you want to load the master data, then I need to create a characteristic info object catalog. So by default it will be selected. Enter a technical name, for example info object catalog for characteristics underscore u. You can enter any technical name. There is no any naming convention standard. Okay, say info object catalog for characteristics for, you can write training purpose. Okay, and you can observe here the system type is a namespace. You have three options. One is SAP delivered by SAP, CUS generated by the user, PAR partner. So what is SAP? If SAP gives you any delivered or predefined objects, that is called SAP delivered. Is it this object is providing by SAP or creating by you? We are creating, right? So what we need to do? So be carefully check that. Is this object is creating by you or SAP? It's creating by us. So it is not delivered by SAP. It is generated by user. Generated by user. Nothing but creating by you. User is nothing but the person who is creating this object is called user. So how do I select this option? Simply click on enter key on your keyboard. Press enter. It will automatically select it. The next, coming back to the PAR partner. We have a certain SAP partners. For example, Siemens is one of the SAP partner. They create their own info objects. So that time the PAR will be displayed. So we don't want to use PAR or SAP because these two are not belongs to us, because this object is created by us. Once you select CUS, click on create. It will open a screen for you where you can see all the options. Nothing is selected, nothing is created under this. It is a one empty InfoObject catalog. Whenever you create object, you need to activate them by clicking on activate button. Okay, once you activate this, there is a button called back or F3. Click on back button, then you will come back to the previous screen. Now you can observe this is a description of your InfoObject catalog. This is a technical name of your InfoObject catalog. Under this InfoObject catalog, I can start creating InfoObjects. So this is how you create InfoArea and InfoObject catalog. Next class, we're going to check it out how to create InfoObjects.